over the last months or so, I've been getting a lot of phone calls and emails about what's happening in South Africa to white people. And I gave my word that I will look into this. And someone sent me a documentary on titled Farmlands. And I watched this, and I have to tell you, it broke my heart. It really, really broke my heart. And it's just evil to see what's happening there, and the world don't know about it. Everybody needs to know about this. This is so wrong that I can't find the right words about it. I'm watching this documentary, I'm thinking, this is not good for anybody, black or white. And I have the author of this film with me right now, but I want to know, like I'm thinking, the blacks in South Africa who are doing this, the black government and others, they're not going to turn out very well for treating whites this way either. It's just so evil. Lauren Southern is with me. She is a Canadian libertarian commentator, independent journalist, filmmaker, and author and activist. Lauren is, and she did an excellent documentary on what's happening in South Africa there. Her new documentary on YouTube titled Farmlands, a systematic killing of white farmers in South Africa. Lauren, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you so much for having me, and on White History Month, too. I wasn't even aware.
That's right. Happy White History, by the way.
Well, thank you. Go ahead.
There's so much. What do you think? First, let me ask about White History. I started White History this year, July 1, the whole month. We have stupid Black History Month, homosexual month, all kind of months, but White History Month. And I'm saying this is not fair. What do you think about the idea of White History Month?
Well, of course, I think as a tongue-in-cheek thing, it's quite fun just to show people how ridiculous the rest of these months are. We only have 12 months in a year.
Yes.
By 2020, we're going to have 10,000 genders available. We aren't going to have a month for every gender that SJWs make up. It's just not feasible. What are we going to do? We're going to have to pay our respects to Black people, Asian people, Indians, Z's, or unicorn gender in 1 month. It's insanity.
Yes.
We don't need these things. Remember history. Everyone's history. American history.
That's right.
It shouldn't matter what skin color.
Your documentary on what's happening in South Africa, Farmlands, absolutely blew my mind last night. I watched this, and I stayed up late to make sure. I couldn't put it down. I saw the whole thing, and it was unbelievable. What effect, if any, did it have on you as a result of doing this documentary?
It's certainly put problems in the West into perspective. I mean, we think race relations are bad in Canada and America, and they certainly need some help. But in South Africa right now, with the historical animosity, of course, apartheid, all of the battles that happened between the Zulu, the Boer, and the British, it's a young democracy, right? And people are trying to figure out how to heal this racial divide. But unfortunately, the people that have gotten into power in the ANC now are communists that are filled with hatred for people who are different than them. And right now, the white population, it's very strange for people to think of white people as oppressed, but in this case, they are 8% of the population, and the government are a majority radical left-wing government who not just dislike, but hate white people and have brought in policies to take their land without compensation. And this has leaked into the culture as well, causing murders, causing crime, causing hatred in the media. And I mean, you watched the documentary yourself, and thank you so much for doing that. It's not something I think I can describe in words.
You
People
can't.
really have to see it for themselves.
They really have to see it to really get the real grip of what's happening there. Whites. Oh, let me ask this. So in South Africa, is the government entirely black now?
Yeah, for the most part, it's the African National Congress.
That's amazing. We have always known that the ANC was evil, communist, socialist. How were they able to take over the government?
Well, of course, after apartheid, when Mandela, of course, there was activism that was good towards the end of apartheid, and they had their first multiracial election. And during that first multiracial election, of course, every single person is going to want to vote in a non-white party, a party that is going to stand up for blacks. And the instead of trying to work towards healing the nation and work towards a good economy, good working between the races, it seems the prerogative, the goal of the government and the goal of a lot of people, unfortunately, because of media propaganda, because of government propaganda, has been revenge. And revenge is not something that will end up well for either party. It may sound great now, take all the land from the white people, take all the money from the white people, but they did that in Zimbabwe. And
Yes.
people who had nothing to do with these government land grabs, people who had nothing to do with kicking the whites out, they suffered. It is going to be both whites and black South Africans that had nothing to do with these land grabs and nothing to do with kicking out whites that are going to suffer from a failed economy, from getting rid of tons of farmers that produce plenty of resources, and just good people that contribute to the nation in general, that have no racist animosity, that weren't involved in the creation of apartheid. It's very sad, but it seems the goal of the government right now, and unfortunately a large amount of the people in South Africa, is revenge. And
The ANC want laws to take the white land. Others are thinking about killing white farmers. Why do blacks fall for communism so much? Why is it that they're so into that? This is so. Why are black people into communism?
well, of course, it's an agenda that has been sold to them as the solution. Everyone accepted Mandela's reign uncritically because it was the fall of apartheid. Of course, you can't criticize that. I mean, having unequal systems, having split drinking fountains, no one is saying that was a good thing. But because it was something that was such a touchy topic, when Mandela got into power, even just criticizing his socialist politics was deemed unacceptable, right? This was the Rainbow Nation. It was going to be the first beautiful, multicultural, far-left socialist utopia. But what happened instead? The rand crashed because of bad policies. What happened instead? Well, now we see this class warfare and racial animosity going on. And I spoke to a woman who runs a group called Land or Death. And she is a black woman who wants to take white land, or she believes they need to die, right? And you could hear when she spoke, she said, we need to seize the means of reproduction. Yeah. That is an exact quote from Karl Marx. I don't believe those were her own words. I don't believe those were her own beliefs. I believe she has been fed lies and lines. I believe the universities have done this. I believe the media has done this. I believe it is much the same as the media war against blacks in America, where they're taught to only vote Democrat. Yes. Because in their best interest. You have the same war going on in South Africa. And unfortunately, these people who have been brainwashed are in control of the government now.
I have always thought that Nelson Mandela was an evil man. And when they brought him here to our country, presenting him as a good person, I'm saying, no, Nelson Mandela is head of the ANC. He's not a good man. Do you agree with me that Nelson Mandela was an evil man?
Well, the fact that he introduced his opposition with 57 public bombings and was part of the Communist Party, yeah. I don't think that's an opinion. I think it's an objective statement.
Yes.
If he had been white or even Asian or anything but black, and during the time he was in, I think that there would be far more criticism. And certainly we can speak of his wife as well, the tactics like necklacing they used against other blacks who simply wanted to work with the government at the time, setting them on fire with tires around their neck. It was evil. Of course, these were evil atrocities, and were sold a false narrative by the media today of who these people were.
Whites are not allowed to work in peace there in Africa. And so as a result of that, the whole country is suffering now. It seemed to me that people were better under apartheid than they are with what's happening now.
That's something that, of course, I feel like I can't even give my opinion on. I would say under apartheid, just because things were better under apartheid does not mean apartheid is good. What it means is that the government now is doing such a poor job, and socialism is so bad that it's literally worse than apartheid. And that's what's crazy is I had individuals come up to me of all races in South Africa and tell me the rand was higher under apartheid. We had less crime under apartheid because people were actually punished for murder and attack and assault. And so, yeah, there were a lot of aspects under apartheid that were better. That doesn't mean it's a good thing. That means the government now is so bad that it's literally worse than.
You know what got me too is that the whites that you talked to were afraid to tell the truth. They were afraid to even say what the truth is. And I'm thinking, that's what's happening in America right now is that if white people don't start speaking up and fighting back and saying no, we can have the same situation in America because whites are hated in America, unjustly hated in America. And if whites don't start speaking up and the people of color take over, we can have the same situation here in America. I want everybody and their mama around the world to check this out. This is a warning sign for America and other countries where whites are under attack, folks. Lauren, tell the folks how to get your documentary.
Yeah, sure thing. So the thing about this documentary, Farmlands, is, of course, I don't have any big backers for it. I have no George Soros funding me. It was completely funded by people who watch me, like $5 donations here and there. So because I had so much support from the public, I made it free to watch on my YouTube channel. You can look up Lauren Southern, or you can just Google Farmlands, and it'll be right there. All I ask is that people share it with at least one person, because the mainstream media is not going to talk about this issue, right?
Yes. And they're not talking about it because it's happening to white people. Is that the reason?
Yeah, it's something that we are entirely incapable of processing. The idea that white people can be victims, which it's very sad. We have this victim oppressor narrative that in the West where only black people can only be oppressed and white people can only be privileged. Doesn't matter if we're talking about Kanye West or a young white boy who grew up being beaten and assaulted. For some reason, we've got this narrative, which is just not true. We should apply privileged and oppressed individuals, and we should judge them individually. And unfortunately, that doesn't work when it comes to the mainstream media. That doesn't work when it comes to who gets funding to produce documentaries and who gets funding for schools. So the issue of white people being oppressed, even when it's on the brink of torture and potential genocide, we won't talk about it. Yeah. So this is so important. I just really appreciate you having me on here to discuss this topic. I know it's unpopular and people get in trouble for talking about it. So huge kudos to you for taking this on.
I love all people. The blacks are not going to turn out very well for doing this in South Africa. I got 3 quick questions because I know you got to go.
Yeah.
Number one, I wondered last night while watching the documentary, were you afraid while being there doing this? At any point, did you fear for your own life?
Well, the precautions that everyone has to take every night, and this goes for most people in South Africa, you're sleeping behind electric fences, you're sleeping in compounds, you've got security outside. It was really cute because everyone had dogs on their farms, and you think it's a cute thing, but it's actually they have 10 dogs to warn you if someone's coming on the property. Yeah. You've got, when you go up the stairs to your bedroom, you lock a giant bar fence, and then you go to the bedroom, you lock the door twice, and then you've got a gun or pepper spray, mace beside the bed when you went to sleep. So there was good protection, but of course, every night sleeping in a country where the crimes only match what can be seen in horror movies, some of the worst things we can imagine. Yeah, it's scary, but the thing here is I got to leave. My South African journey came to an end. It's the people that I filmed in this documentary who are still there that my heart is breaking for.
Are there regular black people there who disagree with what's happening with the farmers?
Oh, absolutely. Oh. And my heart breaks for them too, because they know what's going to happen. I was speaking to a woman who fled Zimbabwe because she stopped being able to make money there. Of course, their dollar collapsed. They had huge crises after they kicked out the white farmers, and she fled to South Africa so she could make money for her family again. And she was telling me, I don't know what I'm going to do for my kids and my family now that they're going to do the same thing here in South Africa. I don't know where I'm going to flee. And it's horrible all around.
I want the folks to know, and you'll see it, folks, on the film, there are black people in South Africa who are going up to the homes of these white people, white farmers and others, not just happening to the white farmers, it's happening to white people and other types of vendors there in the city as well. And they're shooting them in the face. They're just killing them when they answer the door or whatever may happen. My final thing, I saw that you are doing a tour with my friend Stefan Molyneux. Tell us quickly about that.
So Stefan and I will be in Australia towards the end of July. We will be talking about mass immigration. We'll be talking about gender politics, all of the scary topics that no one wants to touch there. And we'll be there all towards the last few weeks of July. It should be a lot of fun. Adelaide, Sydney, Brisbane, all the big cities. There's supposed to be a lot of protesters, but we're going to push through and make it happen anyway.
That's right. Well, say hello from Jesse to him. You know, you are a brave soul. The documentary is Farmlands, and I highly recommend that everybody get this. We need to get our government to President Trump or somebody to talk about this. It would bring more attention to it if he brought it up, especially if he brought it up. We got to get some attention for this because white people, otherwise they don't have a chance there. And they're stuck because they can't afford to leave, some of them. So they're going to end up dead.
Yeah.
Thank you for what you're doing. You are a brave soul, and God bless you, and be careful out there.
Thank you for having me. God bless.
You're welcome. Amazing stuff, folks. You got to see this documentary, all right? Farmlands is just, it's shocking, really. It's just shocking that in 2018, that human beings are allowed to do this to others and get away with it. It's more than a notion. I need you all to subscribe, support us on Patreon, like us on Facebook, and follow me on Twitter.
Got it.